My why is because I believe every single person deserves to be heard. That every single person has greatness within them.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Master Your Life, a podcast really dedicated to the stories of individuals, their stories of grit, determination, and perseverance to pursue mastery and their own individual path to excellence. So today I'm excited to introduce a new but dear friend, Jane Curth. Welcome to the show.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. And like you said, we are new, wonderful friends in such a short time.
Isn't it the best? It's a
Yes.
beautiful way how in life you meet people and your souls just go.
Yes.
And Jane and I we're definitely like that. I'm going to do a little intro about Jane just to give a little background, and then we're going to get on into it. I'm really looking forward to this. So, Jane is a seasoned fitness educator, entrepreneur, and consultant with a passion for accessible wellness and education. I love that accessible wellness. Oof. As the co-founder and former CEO of FitFixNow, she built and sold a leading online platform for fitness professionals. Jane brings over 20 years of academic experience and is an ACE certified personal trainer, silver sneakers model, consultant, and flex instructor, and a melt method hand and foot instructor, which we're going to talk about. She's also an expert for SAM, which is Wary Sam. I want you to tell me a little bit more about that too, where she supports women navigating life's transitions through fitness, recovery, and wellness strategies. She is a powerhouse. I'm grateful to welcome Jane to the show. Yes. When you hear that bio, what comes to mind for you?
Oh, it's been a varied life. And one thing I left off that bio is that early in my career, I owned a ballet studio for like 14 years and sold it. So I've actually had two businesses that I had an exit from. So it's been a long and varied career, and I never want to retire.
Never, and you never shall.
No.
So I would love to talk to you actually about your dance background. I was sent as a 15-year-old to a performing arts high school, and it was very ballet centric. And I
Yeah.
remember going to see dancers at the Boston Ballet, and it was so humbling to me to be in such an elevated environment and actually pretty much dropped me to my knees and realized at 15 that I was a loser and I needed to raise my game. And I'm talking about this particularly as a topic of raising our standard and how ballet is such a standard. All those girls got
Oh,
weighed every Friday. I mean, it was like an intense foray. So tell me
yes.
about your experience in ballet and what that taught you as far as standards and skills that you've used through your life.
Well, there's always kind of a love-hate relationship. There were parts of the ballet world that I hated. Back when I was a dancer, I had a male ballet teacher, and we would have to step on the scales in front of everyone before we took our place at the bar. And he would let us know if we needed to lose weight. And so that was a part of the world that I hated. But what I loved was the technique, the discipline, it was almost like therapy because I'd go in ballet class and all I would think about was what I was doing at the moment and how to perfect it and how to make that skill artistic. And in graduate school, I got a concentration in dance and learned a lot there about compositional dance forms and choreography. That's where I got a ton of choreography experience. And to me, putting dances together is kind of like a puzzle because there are forms that you can adhere to, just like musical forms, they're dance forms. And so I just love all of that creativity, artistic style. Dance was just, and I was still taking class up until COVID.
It's so cool. I love this conversation so very much. I love you even more because when I went to performing arts high school, I studied theater and it was extraordinarily disciplined. And so I look at everything as a play. And, I got the
Yeah.
prologue, I got the first act, the second act, third, then you have scenes all broken up, and then you have the conclusion, the epilogue.
Yeah.
Single thing I do is in the theatrical form. Every podcast interview, every coaching session, every speaking event, every article I write, every speech I do is from a theatrical lens. And
Yes.
so I remember very interestingly when I built this 8-figure business years ago that I was like, wow, like running a business can be creative. And
Yes.
it put me into a whole new light. And look at that, how you modeled that. So tell me how you transferred this picture, this ballet, this composition into business success.
Ooh, that's a good question. As far as the dance portion of it, I after graduate school was teaching at a small rec center, and I had a pretty good, a number of students there. And I thought, well, if I'm going to open a business, a studio, now is the time to do it. So and I thought, I got this advanced degree and I'll probably never use it, but it sounds good. And so I opened the studio. It went really well. I had a great number of students. I had 4 teachers that taught for me. But then my youngest son got into school and I went to work when my kids came home from school. And being a mom was so much more important to me. So I'm like, okay, there needs to be a transition here. And that's when I sold the studio, but went into the academic world. So I started teaching at the university. And I taught there for many, many years, but I wanted in retirement to take some of my um, well, I specialized my last 5 years in online education. And one of the pain points for fitness professionals, which I was already certified, was keeping your continuing ed. So I
Mm,
took that online model, and this is in 2017. This is way before COVID, and used my educational background and created FitFixNow. So, I mean, it's kind of like dance world, academic world, learning all this, putting it together.
yes. But even the way you say that, like putting it together, when you were describing the ahas in graduate school of choreography and composition, don't
Yeah.
you think it's similar to how we put business together and run business? I believe that that's been the core to my success is my theatrical training. Do you feel that same bridge?
Yeah. Because I think in any area of the arts, most of them, the performing arts, you've got a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Mhm.
And so if you think of that in business, you've got the beginning, which for FitFixNow was a startup. And then you've
Right.
got the middle where you're struggling just to get known and get out there. And then you've got the end, which was my exit last September. So I think any of the performing arts, you see those. And I mean, even in writing, you've got your beginning, your middle, and your end.
Right. So it does have that thematic, that structure, the build, the drama. It's got it all.
Yeah.
So what were the core values that you learned through dance that you feel like you still apply in your everyday world now in relationships, business, and all of it?
That it's important to work hard
Mhm.
and to be self-disciplined. Um, some things I wish I'd known better as a young dancer was to take better care of myself, to not be so obsessed about my weight. So those are some things that there was good and there was bad.
Mhm.
But in the end, it helped me in the business world to be more self-disciplined, to not give up when
Right.
courses weren't
Ambitious.
selling, you know,
Mhm.
don't give up and call other people in to help.
Mhm. Those are great, great values and lessons. Really good. So good. So, what would you describe as your favorite? We talked about the pivot of you having to be like, okay, I'm going to value my kids more. Do you have a favorite failure?
You know, the one of the failures that I learned probably the most from was when I first retired. I started a company called Healthy You, and I did it with a friend of mine that was a physician. But what we did, we took a course that I created, an online course I created in academia, and tried to put it in the business world. For example, it was a fitness walking class, but what the students had to do was to get a heart rate monitor, early a Garmin that would, sync to the web. And so, long story short, for 10 weeks, I was their personal trainer, letting them
Oh,
know if they were working long enough, hard enough, and frequently enough. And when I took that, great concept. I mean, people were like, I'm feeling so much better about myself. I'm losing weight and I'm not really trying. Taking it into the business sector, I quickly realized that most people aren't going to strap on a heart rate monitor. And the thing for the student is their grade depended on it. Well, there was no, you know, goal for the business person other than their own health.
and that's not a true motivator, enough of a motivator.
Right,
It's
right.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, what was the aha that
Well,
people have to have more than motivation than that, or what was that for you?
for me, I transitioned from a heart rate monitor to just the Fitbit, and Fitbit had an open AI, so I could check their data. But the aha for me was this isn't working, and I
Mm-hmm.
need to let it go. And
Oof.
part of that letting go was telling my friend, the doctor that went in business with me, that I was done.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that was hard. The relationship's still there, which is really good, but we had both poured money in it. I had poured a ton of time
Mm-hmm.
into it. So, letting that go, it was hard.
Yes, a PhD in hard knocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our failures. So I'm just going to step back a little bit too, but thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. Boy, it's true. It's painful.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, based on your personality, like how did that fit in with your family structure? Did you have a particular role you played in your family?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was the good girl. I was the peacemaker. Um, I had a brother that caused a lot of trouble. So my mom would remind everybody my uncle came to do some painting in our house for her. And he said he never seen a little girl sit in a rocking chair and rock her doll for 8 hours. And so I was the good girl. I didn't want to cause any waves. I didn't want to get in trouble. And I wanted to be the peacemaker. And that was a tough role to get past as an adult.
I bet. How many siblings did you have?
Just one.
So, and did you feel like that was pressure on you to be that, or was that like an internal pressure?
Absolutely. It was like
Yes.
he's over here acting up and causing all kind of problems. And I had to fill the other role of being the quiet, invisible one.
Oh my God. And I was the same. I had my brother Matthew was a total tudak, as we'd call it in Polish, but he was trouble. And I would be like this, Jane, da 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 over there. So I'd be the distractor. And it's the same role, except you'd be sitting there in a rocking chair for 8 hours, and I'd be like doing the jig to distract to enemy fire. Hysterical. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That is wild. So what did it take for you to bust? I mean, you went into ballet, which is also perfect extension of that, but what
Yeah.
did it take for you to bust out of that at some level and be able to understand that you could show up in your full alliteration?
It was lots of therapy. Lots of therapy. There were just times that I was like, why are you doing all this to please your family? Agreeing to do things that you shouldn't do just to please your family. And I'm like, that's wrong.
Mm.
That is wrong. And so, that's when I started in therapy, and I'm still in therapy.
Yep, I tell everybody that. I think
Yeah.
every business person, when you're looking at it, I love this analogy, but every individual has a board of directors, and you can call it your
Yeah.
discipleship or whatever you call it. And it's an accountant, it's an attorney, it's a therapist, it's a coach, it's whoever you decide is in your discipleship. But we all need it. Every
Yes.
human needs it. And maybe sometimes people have a, honorary place and they come and go. That's okay too. You can have a guest person.
Yes.
But I think,
Exactly.
but I think it's really important, and thank you for bringing that up, because it truly is. It's an evolution. Our spiritual and psychological growth, physical growth, all of it is an evolution. So speaking of, well, I want a couple questions in regards to this, but when we're talking about healthy aging,
Yeah.
aging well, what would you what would your nougats be in regards to that? Because you're involved, and I'm wicked excited about what your new chapters are. We're going to share a little bit of tidbits with the audience,
Yeah.
but if you don't mind sharing just a couple nougats about how to age well and healthy, for our audience.
Yeah. My favorite thing in this topic is to talk about the Blue Zone communities. And that's where people live to a high quality of life into their 90s and 100s. And if you look at things that they do, we can apply them. And one of the things that they do that is a passion of mine is meaningful work, something
Mm.
that gives them that value that you're doing good, you're doing for others. That's one thing that I think is real important. And the whole connection bit, where the loneliness is such a health risk,
Hmm.
especially for aging Americans. But that balance and having a spiritual community is important. But I think there's a lot of things to learn from the Blue Zone communities.
Can you talk about what are those? And thank you so much for starting off with meaningful work
Yeah,
and contribution as a way to lengthen your life. That the word retire, it sounds like, okay, let me just build my own coffin now.
exactly, exactly.
I'm gonna build my box.
A friend of mine calls it the retirement zone. And so I think that retirement idea is a good one.
It's a really good one. I love that. I'm gonna reuse that. So what are the qualities or lifestyle choices that people make that live in these? First of all, define blue zone, and then what are the some
Okay.
things that we can implement?
Well, the blue zones are there are 5 designated areas. National Geographic and Dave, I think it's Butner, mm, decided on these 5 communities that were blue zones because they live a high quality of life into their 80s, 90s, hundreds. And they all follow certain, um, they all have certain characteristics in all 5 of these. One of these 5 zones is actually in the US, surprisingly, and it's Loma Linda, California, where there's a large population of Seventh-day Adventists because they eat a plant-based diet. Um, they um, they don't have the wine at 5, which they talk about in the blue zones, that you get together with friends and you have one glass of wine. But they have a strong work ethic. They move a lot.
Hmm.
Seventh-day Adventists really encourage their people to exercise. They have a faith-based community. Um, they have a spiritual life, whether it's prayer, meditation. So they're um, the characteristics. are, you know, just a good overall way to live our lives.
Mm.
And don't
It's
start till you're old. Start
right.
at
You know what I love about this is here we are, so much of what's in the health and wellness focus when they talk about living long lives is all these freaking hacks, like, cold plunge and sauna and
Yeah,
infrared and eating only this and that. And unfortunately, what happens if we just focus on that? We're missing the wide lens of what it means
yes.
to have a good life.
Exactly. It's like that. We used to teach in at the college the wellness wheel. And if you
Mm.
think of a circle and they're pie-shaped pieces, you have different elements of wellness. You have physical, you have social, you have spiritual, you have emotional. Some people say occupational, some people say environmental. So their wellness is not just the physical.
Oh, it's so
If
true.
if you only focus on the physical and do nothing in the emotional portion of your wellness, it's not going to be a balance.
No, you're not going to achieve that the meaningfulness of what
Right.
is a good life. I think that that's an important place to start when we're thinking about particular. It doesn't really matter with aging, but I think it does apply too. Is that how will you measure if you're sitting on at the end of your life in a rocking chair and thinking about all these different pieces of your life as you're rocking and first of all, number one, you want to have some good stories because I think a
Yeah,
life without some good stories is not a life well lived. The
right.
highs and lows, the blows, the ridiculous, because life is ridiculous. But then being able to say, I did right, and being able to look at that. So thinking about that, I call it, a future casting, throwing that the fishing rod way out. What will that look like for you? And in order to attain that, what can I do a little bit more of? Not in some crazy fashion, not in some biohacking, rigorous situation, but more like what will that look like and what kind of intentions can I set?
Are you talking about for you or just
I think like in general, I think that's a good idea based on what you talked about. Because when you mentioned the blue zone, and then
yeah,
the three things that you mentioned was meaningful work and refinement, and then connections,
right.
and then spiritual community. And then you talked about the blue zones, and we got into that and what that looks like from nutrition and exercise point of view. That's the right way. That's the good pyramid.
Yes.
When you think about it, if you wanted to think of it in the pyramid, the good
Yeah.
stuff is meaningfulness and
Yes.
how everything fuels up into that or down from that.
Right. So I think, and I hope this will answer it, hopefully people will focus more on meaningful work, staying connected with
Mhm.
people. I think we learned during COVID that that was hard to do. And during COVID, I worked with an Israeli company doing some live classes with adults that were, most of them were between 75 and 100 years old. And the Zoom stuff we did with them was the only thing that kept them going. They were all like, I don't know what I would have done if I had not have had this during COVID. And it was such a wonderful, I got so much more from them than they got from me.
Mm.
I had 3 or 4 Holocaust survivors that were in there, and one in particular, sweet, sweet woman, had been a teenager in Auschwitz, and she would sit there with the most beautiful smile on her face. And so connecting with people and learning from their stories, it makes life richer. And so I think we all tend to focus on the physical. You know, let's drink more water and let's exercise, which is really important. I'm not dismissing that at all, but I think that's the first thing we think of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to delve more into the social, emotional, spiritual wellness is a huge gap for a lot of people.
Jane, let's go dropping the mic on that one. That's so good and so true. And I love this. I want to magnify that, double click on that, as Pastor Rich said last night, because it's true. We want to open up that lens. And I would just ask the viewers and listeners, what does that look like for you to widen the lens of you're living the good life?
It's all about quality of life,
Mhm.
especially as we age. And our fitness guru from many years ago, Dr. Kenneth Cooper, said you want to live a long, healthy life and die quickly.
Yeah, that sounds
Maybe not for our family, but
I know, but for us, like I'm like, yeah, live a long life but die quickly. Oh my gosh, that's so good. And a question for you and how this applies, because you're in a really wonderful, rich relationship with your husband.
yeah.
How does that feel this fit into this life of Jane?
I thought when you ask about failures, I should have mentioned my divorce too. And so I never knew marriage could be wonderful, and where someone encourages you, builds you up, wants you to be the best you can be. And that's what he's done for me. He's um, one of our first arguments as a married couple. What I tend to do if somebody comes on really strong, I'll just sit back and not say anything.
In your rocker with your doll for
Yeah,
8 hours.
yeah.
It reverts, people.
I still sit that little bitty rocking chair out, so it's a reminder to me to get out of the chair.
Oh, Jane, that's powerful metaphor. Wow, we love it that.
And so Chris, we were kind of disagreeing, and he's like, "Don't you stop. You get up and you finish with me. You've got
Wow.
things to say. I want you to say them." And I'm like, "Whoa."
He fought for you like that.
Yes.
That gives me goosebumps, Jane.
Yes. Yes.
That's love. You never know what love looks like or sounds like, do you?
No, but that is love.
That is love.
Yeah.
Another mic drop.
Yeah.
So good. So good. So
Yeah.
tell us now, in your refinement, since we met at right after you
So,
exit right
yeah.
into onto a new chapter. So you have a few things going on, as
I
most
do.
entrepreneurs do. But is there anything in particular that you'd like to share with the audience, just to titillate them a little bit? And we'll be obviously sharing the show notes, your things.
A couple of things. The first thing is that with one of our former partners with FitFixNow, she has a personal training gym in Lexington, Kentucky. Very successful, very successful. Her trainers, most people don't know what trainers make, but they don't make much money. Her trainers tend to make 6 figures a year. And so, and that's mainly because they go toward an older population.
Nice.
And so she and I are starting an endeavor called a Fitness Plus Academy. Her gym is Fitness Plus, and this is Fitness Plus Academy, where we're going to have a couple of courses. One is an assisted stretching course, and the other is called Strong Over 50, and it's a body weight bar and a course that teaches trainers how to use this piece of equipment. So, but we want to be a total wellness platform. We're just building it. And I'm going to probably put some melt classes on
Tell
there.
us about that.
Melt is it's something I discovered about a year ago, and I just last week finished and got my level 1 training. But you do the hand and foot training first, then you do the level 1. It's a neurofascia release. We get on that hard foam roller and like press it out, and it hurts. This is a soft foam roller. There's not supposed to be any pain. It hydrates the fascia and then gets it into the lymphatic system. Great for chronic pain.
It's-
Great, great, great.
And it doesn't have to hurt people.
No,
And
no.
that's the part. This is science. This is science, y'all. This is good. Because if you look at neurofascia, if you look at the, I wish we could put maybe we should attach a screen shot or a link to what the neurofascia looks like in
Yeah,
the body. You people listening, it is something else. It is like the World Wide Web of the body. It's
it
magnificent.
is.
It is.
That's a great way to summarize it.
Mhm. It really is. It shows the magnificence. It actually took my breath away when I saw it.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's amazing. And so this technique is just a great way for people to feel better and move better and sleep better. There's several techniques that really innovate the vagus nerve. And so it puts you in that parasympathetic rest and digest rather than fight or flight. So,
We need that more than ever right now, Jane.
yes, yes.
It's
And the
just
third thing I'm kind of working on is a new startup. It's called, well, it's called SAM, and the website is wearesam.co, and it's women supporting women in some type of transition. It could be divorce, it could be a new baby, it could be helping with aging parents, all types of life transitions. And so I'm going to be an expert on there for fitness, wellness. Um, so in retirement, I want to help people.
yes. Yes,
That's
you do.
that's my goal.
Yes. That is a delicious and meaningful goal, Jane.
Yes.
So yeah, and we'll be sharing, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, all of the details to get in touch with you. In particular, one of them is I'll actually share the email, but it's info at fitnessplusacademy.com. That would
Yes.
be for the online platform for both the assisted stretching and the body weight bar, which,
Yes.
I think I need to be teaching some classes with you, Ms. Jane. I just finished getting certified just because I always keep my fitness certification open in healthy aging through ACE. And I'm telling you, that was hard. They did so
Yeah.
much on neurobiology. I actually commented that to them and I'm like, this was a PhD class, y'all. Told like three people there like reported a complaint because it was
Wow.
intense. And I'm like, this is a continuing ed course. And they were like, yeah, it's actually two classes in one. I'm like, you could have told me. But
Exactly.
yeah, but it's good stuff. So if you were to have a billboard, Jane, or if you had a mantra that you could let everyone in the world see, what would that say? What would you want people to know?
Well, okay, you know my faith is very important to me. And I think what I would want that billboard to say, and in some context of why I would want it to say this, is we have a family member struggling with alcoholism and going through a lot of Al-Anon meetings and readings. And one thing that I just really, really love is if you boil the first three steps of AA down, it basically says, and this is what I would want um, on my billboard: I can't, God can, and I'll let him.
Wow. Say that again.
I can't, God can, and I'll let him. So that's what I try to keep on my personal billboard every day.
That's so good. Another goosebump moment. Wow, that's powerful. Jane, thank you so much for your time today. I just want to say thank you, my fast and deep friend. And I'm grateful that we get to journey forward with our shared commitment to meaningful connection with you and I at the foundation of that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you and see your beautiful face.
Thank you, Jane. And thank you to all the viewers and listeners. Remember, we are here journeying together. This is our time for meaningful connection. And if you would like more information in regards to Jane, please reach out. And I'm here for you. And I want you to know that I believe in you. You have greatness within you. And remember, if you can't, you can give it up to someone else who can. Be well, everyone, and take good care.